The 90s were a great decade for guitar amps and saw the release of many guitar amps that are both still relevant and popular today. The PV5150 series, the Engel Savage, the Mesa Boogie Rectifier series, the Deasdweald VH4, the Marshall JCM 2000 series. The list goes on, but one special amp from that era seems largely forgotten today, the Laney VH100R. I don't see many people talking about these online, and there aren't a whole lot of videos of this amp on YouTube either. Let's change that. In the coming weeks, I'm going to shoot it out against some of the legends from its era, as well as its spiritual successor, the Laney Ironheart. But today, let's just take a detailed look at the amp by itself. The VH100R is a 2-channel amp with 2 modes each per channel. Channel 1 or A is on the bottom row and channel 2 or B is on the top row. The modes share the 3-band EQ of each channel as well as the channel's reverb and effects knobs. Channel A mode 1 is super clean. There's no gain knob, just a volume knob. You also get a bright switch that only affects that mode. Switching over to channel A mode 2 gets you into light crunch territory. Mode 1's volume knob gets deactivated and in its place you get the volume and drive knobs next to it. Switching over to channel B gets you more crunchy tones. You get a volume and a gain knob that roughly gives you JCM 800 gain levels. Channel B mode 2 is where it gets interesting. This is high gain territory. Unlike how it is on the first channel, channel B mode 1's gain controls don't get deactivated. Instead you get the additional drive knob next to the high input. If the schematic I have is correct and I have the cognitive capacity to interpret it correctly, Mode 2 switches an additional 2 gain stage into the circuit between the input stage and Mode 1's gain stages. The drive knob controls the signal going into that stage, so you effectively get 2 gain knobs to dial your high gain tone, which gives you a few dialing options. I briefly touched on that in the playthrough. I slightly prefer the gain high and the drive as high as I can get away with, as opposed to the drive high and the gain as high as I can get away with. The difference between these two variants is very subtle though. Subtle enough for it to maybe be just in my head. On the back of the amp there are several different routing options. A loop that can be switched between serial and parallel or bypassed entirely, a preamp out and a power amp in, as well as channel dependent loops and an A+B return jack that quite frankly confuses me. I should take a look at the manual or the schematic for that. Sound wise I love the amp. The cleans are great, crunches are fun, and its high gain sound still works today if you use a boost with it. Without a boost its low end tends to get a bit tubby at a certain point. The reverb is excellent, it's nice and subtle and quite dynamic. The harder you pick, the more you notice the effect. My only objective criticism is that it gets a bit noisy at higher gain settings, but that's nothing a good gate won't fix. My other complaints are purely subjective. I hate chrome faceplates, they remind me of cheap auto parts and they don't age well. And the handles, while comfortable, make it hard to stack other amps on top of it, which could be an issue if you keep buying amps instead of going to therapy. I hope this video was informative and or entertaining to you, even though the format was a little different. I will return to the shootout format shortly. I want to line the VH100R up against a Laney Ironheart, a PV5150 and a Marshall JCM 2000 DSL 100. I wanted to highlight some of the amp specifics outside of the shootout format to prevent the videos from getting too long, and leave my comfort zone a bit too. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you all for a great first year for me on YouTube. It really happened by coincidence and I'm really enjoying it. Apart from a couple of weird comments, the toxic internet has been nothing but kind, friendly and encouraging to me. You are a great community and I appreciate each and every one of you. Every comment, like and subscription gives me a huge boost. I've got a lot of cool shit lined up for 2023. See you all next year. Thanks again. Toodaloo!